Hello and welcome again to Kroeder Kroghen. And today's programme is about An Fentenu Sans Agernal, the Holy Wells of Cornwall, as I promised you last week. Well, a few days ago I spoke to Paul Broadhurst, who is the author of a new lavishly illustrated book about the Holy Wells of Cornwall. Paul is a photographer as well as a writer, and the book, which is going to be rather luxuriously produced, will include some hand-tinted colour photographs of the various holy wells. It's a subject that's occupied him for quite a while and taken several months of extended research. And I spoke to him the other day and asked him what got him interested in the subject in the first place.
A coincidence, really, if you believe in coincidences, but I was at a country auction in Lostwithiel, sifting through some old musty books, lots of religious tracts and old school books, and this volume almost fell out on my head. This strange old book, Ancient and Holy Wells of Cornwall, published in 1894.
De Grésaft in Oso Kreis, Tuzarik Moos than Fentenoma, Ragbos Yahes, Gansen Dauro en Kepara Lourdes in Dedioma.
Well, that's right. Even a century or so ago, mothers could be found bathing their scrofulous children. If any of your kids have got whooping cough or scrofula or skin diseases or weak eyes, you should really take them along to a holy well and give them a good dunking. It was the equivalent of the NHS in the old days, and it might even be better for you, I don't know.
Hagaris de Cafos Huethlo, the Lays, and Cavram Fentenoma?
Well, there are many fascinating legends. In fact, each well has its legend. Some of them are highly amusing. For instance, out at Ortonan, on the edge of Bodmin Moor, the holy well of St. Nonna there was used as a bowsening pool for curing lunatics. A bowsening pool.
Oh, yeah.
This is the term. It's a good old Cornish name, and it was used for the curing of lunatics. They had a rather drastic regime for lunatic curing in those days. And the unfortunate lunatic was made to stand at the side of a pool of water, which was caused by damming up the holy well itself. And then they were thrust very violently into this pool and thrashed up and down by a burly farmhand, and who virtually half drowned them. If this didn't work first time round, they were dragged off to the church at Ortonan, dripping, where hymns would be sung over them. And no doubt long, tedious sermons were given by the local vicar, and then they were taken back and the whole process was repeated. It sounds rather drastic. I think it's interesting that the short, sharp shock treatment was going even in those days. The incredible thing was that it actually worked in many occasions, and people who were insane from Bodmin Asylum were cured by this method, which seems rather remarkable. It must have been the thought of having to go back and have it done again, I should presume, which did it.
Yeah.
Some of these wells were exceedingly famous in medieval times. For instance, Holy Well Bay at Newquay, which nowadays attracts many, many thousands of people in the summer to heal rather more 20th century disorders of tension and stress. In those days, and we have this from medieval chroniclers who were quite careful about the things they wrote down, the actual name of the bay, Holy Well Bay, obviously takes its name from a holy well, a most mysterious and supernatural place in the cliffs. You can only get to it at low tide, but you walk around the eastern cliffs there and you see these carved stone steps in the cliff which you walk up, and you walk into this sea cave, and it is a remarkable spectacle because there are natural enamelled type basins within this cave which are formed by the waters dripping down, and they are stained the most unearthly colours of pink and blue and green by the mineral rich waters. In medieval times, thousands of people from all over Europe used to go to this well. The crippled and the infirm would drag their bodies. The power of this place was so great that they would drag their bodies to this holy well and thrust their crutches up into a little cave at the top, or leave rags and bits of their clothing there to create the magical connection.
I thought agreegeth G the henna, the honnen, agreeseth G bos nerthol Holdall the Fentenoma,
Yes, I do believe they have magical properties, and I think anybody who goes and sits quietly at one of these places will find the same. Um, you fall into a rather strange reverie, a state of mind at these places, which is healing, which does heal you. It makes you feel better, it relaxes you, and also it can take you into interesting, almost semi-trance states, which I think accounts a lot for the mystical sort of experiences. And they've always been thought of as sacred, these springs, right since the dawn of man. And there's a very good reason for that. There's an energy field around them, which does affect the brain patterns, I believe.
Hag yma Lears eglos drehefus wartiller and Fenton Sands na.
Many churches are built on the site of holy wells. In fact, you could say that the whole landscape is dominated by holy wells, because as you drive about the Cornish countryside and you see these churches hidden and nestling in the landscape itself, they are there because there is a holy well, often in the churchyard itself, or the church has been built directly on top of the well. They have always been held sacred, not just by the Christian religion. Whatever religion happened to be fashionable at the time has always acknowledged this. Although there was a great revival in the Celtic Christian times, and many hermits built their oratories on top of these wells, and they became great centres.
Yeah. Well, beth yw stith yn Fenteno na, lemon?
So, some of these wells are in a reasonable condition, some have been restored. Unfortunately, many of them are in a terrible state of decay and neglect, which is a sad comment on our society, really, that these places should come down to us over such great lengths of time, and yet they reach the 20th century with all its technology, and we can't even be bothered to apply a little bit of cement to them and look after them. I find this very sad. We really must take care of these special places in the landscape. They're very important, I believe.
Yes, yeah. Mes Iwan Coletta ninjas arhens lar aga daster hevel po aga gul da in with arte.
It's not a question of money at all. It's a question of attention, because they're fairly simple rustic structures mainly, and beautiful because of that, because they're simple and not over grandiose. All they need is a regular bit of maintenance, perhaps once every quarter of a century. There's a well, for instance, at this moment, St. Piran's well at Trethevey, near Tintagel, which is a structure unique in Cornwall, an interesting pyramid-type structure with a cross on top, and it is just about to be lost forever, because people really cannot be bothered to spend a few hours tidying it up and making sure that the elements get in there. And once the frost gets into these places, it pulls the structure apart, then they're knocked down or demolished, and these springs have gone forever.
Well, pure dalvia gulen over na, consul and randir po pith.
I think people who live nearby really should take them under their wing, because throughout history, wells have always had guardians who've looked after them and kept them clean and just repaired them when necessary, and there's really not much effort involved in this. I don't think we need a centralised board to look after holy wells.
Mes Martez and tis new ras one, both Fenton Sands and Parna in Agolgas.
This is one of the reasons why I wanted to do the book, to bring to people's attention these places. People are spending fortunes now on old castles and other aspects of our heritage which are fascinating, but holy wells connect us with the most remote past, and to lose them now would be a tragedy, as I say. So to spend a few pounds here and there on looking after them, I think will be well rewarded in the future by those who come after.
Well, in the govern them in Keveran livery honen, pithy priest and liver.
The book is £34.
And you never you
Yes, it is a little high for a normal sort of book, but what I'm doing with this book is creating a very finely produced book. It's a collector's book, really, special collector's book, because I want to reflect the unique magical quality of these places. And to do this, the book will be produced in much the same way as the Victorians would have done. It will be beautifully bound, it'll be printed on antique type paper, all the photographs and engravings in it, of which there are many.
Hat ti arwg yn sgysenol the honan?
Oh yes, I did all the photographs myself. 5 years I spent travelling all round Cornwall, down the lanes, in the most remote and inaccessible places, really. If you want to see Cornwall, you should get out and look for holy wells, because it takes you to places that people never go to. And when you rediscover one of these places, you get a distinct feeling that nobody's been there for years.
Yeah.
There's a lovely atmosphere and feeling about them.
Mae'r mynd neb on yn prena dasgrif yn lyfr. Fatal awdw hen y bos gwrys.
Well, if anybody's interested in the book, if they'd like to write to me, I will send them an illustrated prospectus with all the details of the book and exactly the sort of quality it's going to be, and they can take it from there.
Wel, pydda, the hanol yw Paul Broadhurst, henyway lawr, mes pithio fe drigfa.
The address is Trebeath, that's Trebeath, Egloskerry, Egloskerry, and that's at Launceston, just outside Launceston.
Egloskerry. Well, Paul Broadhurst, gomeras these autos in studio. Have you?
A pleasure, John. Thank you.
My thanks to Paul Broadhurst for coming in to talk about his new book, The Holy Wells of Cornwall, shortly to be published. Ha henywol, rhaid heddiw, ha mi elefrim with Arta, gomeras thu, August Lois Ortith, thank you for listening to me. Ha mi a white agus gwelys in saith another, and hope I'll see you again next week. Vicena, do ganna we in with Arta. Do ganna we, God be with you. Do ganna we all.